There's a concept that if we can use a robot to fix somebody's heart while sitting a few feet away from them, I think it begs the question, why can't we do it over greater distances? The concept of telesurgery or telerobotics involves us taking robotic controls, and rather than having them directly connected via a series of cables to a robotic arm, we connect the two robotic components over a network, and suddenly the distance over which you can fix somebody's heart using a robotic system suddenly becomes much larger. As an interventional cardiologist, I fix blocked arteries, and many times those are in patients who have a blocked artery that's causing a heart attack. And so when an artery suddenly closes down in somebody's heart and they begin having a heart attack, the amount of time that takes place between the moment that artery closes to the moment that artery is opened determines how well that patient does. So the longer that the artery is closed, the more likely the patient is to die from that event, the more damage that gets done to the heart, the more likely that patient is to have to live with a life of congestive heart failure. In the United States, we have very large populations of people who live in rural areas that don't have immediate access to a hospital that has a cath lab. And so it can take them hours from when they have their heart attack to actually get to a location that artery can be fixed using catheters and balloon devices. I think that we have the potential to use remote robotics to increase access for those people so that we can treat their heart attacks much sooner.
It's called a shofar. Came directly from Israel. Well, my name's James Eric Smith. I go by Jim. And we're sitting here in Truefit, Michigan. And I woke Deb up. And I was like, I think I gotta go to the hospital. I think I'm having a heart attack. I started dry heaving outside, like throwing up.
And then I knew.
And she knew it's another sign I have a heart attack. She pulled right up, and I heard him get out of the truck and walked right in the ER. Next thing I know, they were putting me into the room where I got to go to get prepped and all that stuff. They started putting all the wires on me. The next thing I know, I blacked out. I wake up, and the doctor asked me, am I aware of what just happened to me? I said, no. And he said, you just passed away, you just died, and we had to revive you. Because they had to do a lot of CPR, and then they had to use those paddles to shock my heart 2 times, not just once, but 2 times. And it's scary. I wouldn't be here right now. I mean, just that quick. I just turned 58 years old, and this happens. It's like, I'm too young, you know.
Well, when they came out and got me and told me that they had to get you to Grand Rapids like ASAP, and they told me what had happened.
She was scared because the doctor told her that I could have another massive heart attack on my way to Grand Rapids. It took us probably about 45 minutes from Greenville to Grand Rapids. They wanted to fly me Aeromed, but they couldn't because it was raining out, something to do with the safety of them, I'm sure. They wheeled me in immediately into the operating room, and the surgeons were there waiting for me. And they said most people, it's only like 10% of people that actually survive this because I was blocked 100%. No blood flow. No blood flow at all.
Through the left ventricle. Yeah, they were amazed even how they got a stent and 100% blocked artery.
Easy as it went in. They saved my life.
Right now, this day and age, if you show up to a hospital in the United States with a heart attack that doesn't have the ability to open that up because they don't have a cath lab, you would be shipped by ambulance or helicopter to the nearest larger center that does have that capability. With telerobotics, we could position a robotic arm in that remote hospital and actually open that artery up at that remote hospital where that patient shows up. And so it would eliminate potentially the need to emergently transfer that patient. And this is what it would look like if we were doing this with our, using just our hands. And so this is the way that the majority of heart procedures are done, all over the world, is that there's a physician standing next to the patient, manipulating interventional devices. The robotic system doesn't deploy anything. It does all of the pushing and pulling and torquing of interventional devices into and out of the patient's heart that we would, traditionally do with our hands. We've done remote robotics procedures over public internet, over 5G wireless networks, all of which seem to perform adequately enough to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And so we designed an experiment that we conducted where I was sitting at Robotic Controls in Boston, and we had a robotic arm in a laboratory in San Francisco, and demonstrated that even across the continent we were able to control that robotic arm and do simulated robotic procedures despite being 3,000 miles away. Using current internet technology and network connectivity, even though that round trip distance was very large, the latency for those signals was imperceptible to me as the operator. And so that showed that at least within the United States, geographic distance may not be a major constraint for us to use this to reach patients who currently can't reach us. You could do that remote robotic procedure from any location where you could connect to a wireless network. So no longer do you need to be in a hospital or an office building where you're simply plugging things into the wall. You could be anywhere.